This episode is sponsored by Evolve Bootcamp, my year-round outdoor functional fitness program that delivers a sense of warmth, friendliness, and spirit, along with butt-kicking, hellishly fun-filled workouts that embody a caring attitude, evoking the idea everybody that exercises outside does so without boundaries and naturally evolves. Class begins at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Come by for a trial class at the Boston Common if you dare. Welcome to the Evolve WMMA podcast, featuring the greatest upcoming female fighters on the planet. They are women who've gone against conventional thinking to pursue their dreams. These fighters inspire, empower, and unleash excellence within a new generation of female warriors as they rise and evolve into the best possible version of themselves through the power of mixed martial arts. Hey, this is Evolve WMMA, and I'm your host, Shelly Devine. My next guest is an Invicta FC Atomweight. She's also a firefighter out of St. Louis, Missouri. She's really small. It's amazing. She started out fighting in a fundraiser called Guns and Hoses, where cops verse firefighters, and from there, one thing led to another. She recently faced Jillian DeCoursey at Invicta FC 35, and she won by unanimous decision. I'd like to welcome firefighter and Invicta FC fighter Kelly Ann, Wildfire Angelo. So, hi Kelly, welcome to the show. How does it feel to be victorious yet again?
Awesome. Of course, you're always sad after it's over with because it's so much through camp and you're getting ready for this big moment and then it's over with. And you're like, now what?
Yeah. Because, what was your fight camp like?
Well, it's actually been, I had 8 months in between fights. So I had a few fights they thought I was going to have. Then it fell through. So it was like an up and down roller coaster. So I finally got one and I was fully committed. So committed that I actually had a pretty significant injury in it. So I don't know if you saw that Facebook post or not, but I tore my glute max, glute medius tendon, and then some fascia in between the muscles.
And you fought with that?
Yeah.
Oh!
It took so long to get a fight that, I didn't want to back out. And I knew my opponent she had a hard time getting a fight too. So I was like, I'm not going to back out now. It happened like 2.5 weeks out from fight day.
Wow. How did you injure yourself?
During practice.
Just during practice. Wow.
Yeah, well, it was just overuse. So it just tore.
Oh my goodness. Well, for our listeners, I had my lead in, I mentioned that you're a firefighter and you're about, how much do you weigh? Like 10, what's your walk around weight?
I walked around at between 120 and 122.
Yeah, so you're tiny. And, you're fighting atom weight. So, I know that you're small and you're a firefighter, which is amazing. And you're an MMA fighter, a professional MMA fighter, both amazing, both in male-dominated arenas.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm like, when I saw that and heard that, I was like, damn girl, that's whatever possessed you to actually, get into and stay the course of becoming a firefighter, and then we'll get into the MMA stuff, because how you even got into MMA is fascinating too.
So I actually was going to be a police officer first, and I grew up in a pretty small town. So I started that, actually took some classes at the local college, and I had a really good friend that was like, you're super outdoorsy, you're always, hanging out with the guys anyway. Most of us are on the volunteer fire department. Why don't you try it out? We don't have any girls. And I fell in love with it. So my police, course turned into EMS, which turned into paramedic. And Perryville don't have full-time firefighters. So if I wanted to do this as a full-time career, I had to go to either Cape Girardeau or St. Louis, which is both an hour either north or south. So I came to St. Louis. And from there, I got on a private ambulance district, worked my way through paramedic school, and, volunteered a couple places up here. went through the County Fire Academy, and I'm actually an instructor at the County Fire Academy now too. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it was a long journey, but well worth it.
Yeah. What was the toughest part about the journey to get involved in that? Like, I mean, what did you find was the hardest thing about like staying in it? Were there ever any times that, you know, you were like, what am I doing?
You know, honestly, the most intimidating part was probably coming from a small town and moving into St. Louis, because I never drove downtown. I never drove on like more than 2 lanes, never parked in a parking garage, parallel parked, used the taxi, like, and then I just kind of got thrown into it and was like, figure it out. So I lived on a buddy's couch for a while when I came up here, because I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends in St. Louis except for him. And so he let me just like veg out on his couch for a couple months till I figured stuff out. And it was a little overwhelming at first.
I can imagine. That's a lot of undertaking, right then and there. I mean, you know, if you had stuck with the police officer, that training in and of itself is challenging, but then the fire department challenging. I mean, that's like challenging in that just putting that gear on and walking around in it, right?
Yeah.
And picking up stuff.
Yeah. Our gear, when we're completely geared up and then we have the tank on, it's right around 70 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do you have to do like a test of like climbing up a lot of stairs in your suit, carrying stuff? And
so crazy thing is, you're supposed to keep, it's called a CPAC test. And you're supposed to keep your card up. You should test once a year. And I actually did that test before I left town for Kansas City in the middle of my weight cut. So when I did the test, I was probably about 114 pounds. And you wear 75 pounds. They put a weight vest on you and then extra weights on a stair mill. And you have to do that and then carry some tools and stuff. And then you have to drag a 170-pound dummy and then sledgehammer something and then pull ceiling. So it was the only test I could get in at the time. So the day I left for Kansas City, that morning, I did a firefighter agility test in the middle of my weight cut, which sucked, but I had to just get it done.
Was it what fight? What fight was it that you did that for? Like prior to
this one?
This one. Oh God! Oh, with a torn glute.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yay! Wow. That's some heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
A few extra challenges thrown in there lately, but you know, made it feel better at the end. A little more deserved.
Oh my gosh! So I saw at the end of your fight, you were like, "Well, no marks on this face. I don't even feel like I'm in a fight." And I'm not sure how Jillian was, but I know in the first round she caught a couple, like, you know, clock. You nailed her, and she looked like she, you know, was stunned or something like that. I mean, how did you think each round went when you were in that fight? Like, I mean, the first round I kind of felt like, oh, it was close both ways. I mean, you had some serious strikes. She had some good takedowns. Second round, more battle. And then third round, you just, you know, you totally dominated. But how did you feel personally? How did you feel how that whole fight went?
So coming from a boxing background, I always know almost everybody I went against is a grappler. I mean, she's a brown belt. So I knew she was going to want to get me to the ground. I've had fights in the past where people like just get you down and lay on you. And they've gave the other fighter the round or the fight, and there's, you know, no damage, nothing really happened. They just let them stay there and be safe. I really liked how Kansas and back the ref even told us, like, you guys can get takedowns, but if you don't do anything with it, it's, you know, he stood you up in the second round or something. She had you on the ground or whatever. Nothing was happening. And she was in my guard, just like holding me. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I was trying to push her down, but she wasn't trying to pass, or it was kind of a stalemate. So, I I felt pretty confident after every round. I didn't know how they were going to score the takedowns was the one thing.
Yeah.
I knew that I did a lot more damage to her.
Yeah,
and
you rocked her. You definitely rocked her.
I mean, her the one eye was swollen up pretty good by the third round. But I'm usually not the person to make those kinds of posts or anything, because it can be considered disrespectful.
Sure.
But the night after or the day after our fight, her manager actually got all over social media and said that it was a bad call. I definitely didn't win that fight. Wow. And that the judges picked me as a favorite. It's the only reason I got it. They raised the wrong hand. All this kind of stuff.
Oh, so, really? Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I think she had a post that followed that pretty much stated all the same stuff he was saying. And I've had losses in the past. You know, I had one that me and my coaches didn't necessarily agree with the decision that they made. But I shook my opponent's hand. I told her congratulations, and I didn't try to take anything from her.
Yeah.
I knew she put in the work, and even if I didn't agree with what happened, I took the loss that night.
Yeah,
and
you've had 2 losses. One against Suna, and the other girl was more recent.
Kelsey Bailey from the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was just really disappointing to see how they reacted to it.
Yeah. That's I didn't know that. I haven't actually looked at her, as I was actually going to try and get her on to the podcast too, and see how she was feeling after the fight, but I haven't had a chance to, because she actually wanted to get on prior to, just like you, and we just couldn't get it scheduled. So it's always interesting to get the post-fight stuff too. You know, like, and then it makes a little like, gets a little like, you know, and then it's good for a rematch or something if you know that is the case. But who knows? I mean, you're moving up the ladder to face, you know, potentially Jin Yu Fry, you know, so.
That's the plan. I want to go for the belt for sure. So. And these last 2 fights, I mean, my last 2 fights have been my first fights at Atomweight. And I think it's known I missed weight on this last one, which
is that because of maybe the glute thing and just, I mean, you had a lot going on too. And what did you miss it by?
3 pounds.
3 pounds. Yeah.
So this is the first time in my AMI or pro career I've ever missed weight. And I could not do the cardio. I couldn't run. Yeah. So I couldn't do the cardio I usually do. I could do you know, any of that kind of stuff, because it happened 2.5 weeks out, which is kind of where you're going to be really burning some stuff. Yeah. So I had to alternate with like swimming, biking, and just try to maintain as well as I could. And then I was also on a bunch of anti-inflammatory stuff to kind of like keep it down, because once it inflamed, then I had restricted range of motion in my hip because all the muscle tissue was swelled up. So I had a lot of things kind of going against me here. And I didn't want to like put it out there as an excuse, but I even stopped her in the lobby and was like, I didn't mean to miss weight. I find it disrespectful when people do that, and I'm sorry, you know. Yeah. You know, sorry to my family, friends, and stuff counting on me, because that's the first fight in the fight. Right. You know, so I lost that one. I lost that fight. My weight cut. But you know, hopefully I'm a little healthier for the next one. I'm gonna get this to heal up correctly. I kind of push my body a little harder than I should sometimes. So I got my husband's been on me because I'm already wanting to go back to the gym. And he's like, no, you have to let your butt heal. Is what he keeps telling me. Yeah. So, is there any recovery protocol for that? I mean, are you getting, you know, PT, you know, physical therapy? Yeah. And I was taking and whatever. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So, luckily cryo, I have a cryo place. Sub-Zero is one of my sponsors. So I get to go to them regularly. They have Normatec pants. They have a Theragun that I get to use. I got Float STL. So I get to do that. And then I have a physical therapist that I started working with as soon as it happened that I've been consistently working with. And then everything from like cupping therapy to Graston to, E-stim, like acupuncture.
Yes. Yep.
We've been doing it all. Like yeah.
That's good. Acupuncture is awesome, I think. I had it for injuries. I have a good friend that does it, and she does Tuina massage, which is brutal. Oh my God. She'll literally like have you screaming on the table in tears. And then afterwards you're like, oh wow, I feel so much better.
Like deep muscle tissue kind of thing.
Oh, wicked. Like, I mean, deeper than any sort of sports massage. Like, it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, like Tuina massage. It's like it's a Chinese based massage, and it's I don't know, like she just would, I mean, kick my ass. I'm like, but say like my shoulder, I had frozen shoulder, and then I blew out my knee, and I've never had surgery on my knee, but I injured it pretty bad, and she just kept me going, like, so I could get up the next day and go and teach and train and do what I needed to do. So it's like, those things, those modalities, man, those practitioners are essential for a fighter. Essential, to keep you going, for sure. Well, I'm glad you fought, and I'm glad you won. I mean, like, that's with all that going on, it just it's a testament to you as a fighter to still get in the cage even with an injury of, I mean, that's a large muscle to injure.
Yeah.
So, like, were you on something, a painkiller to when you fought?
No, when it initially happened, I had to, like, for a couple of days. I was actually on crutches for 2 days. The initial injury happened, but it was after that. They're like, well, you need to stay off of this for at least 6 weeks.
Jeez.
And I was like, just get me through the next 2.5.
Yeah, right.
Stay off it as long as you want. Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, if you're going to be going through this, we knew like all they could give me was anti-inflammatory.
Right. Wow.
So yeah.
You were sucking it up, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. Like pain and whatever, like, yeah. Wow. Wow. So did you just recently get your purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So what's funny is I'm not a purple belt.
You're a blue belt.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I saw online, and they said purple belt, and I was like, wait a minute, I saw the blue belt, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually gave my coach some trouble about it. I texted him and was like, the commentator said I was a purple belt, and he was just like gave me crap back and was like, you did all right.
Can I get an honorary one now?
At least like give me a strip of tape or something, But yeah, I've only been a blue belt. I just got my blue belt this last year. So yeah.
Accomplishment. That's great. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's really cool. And I mean, we were going to schedule something. Was it you that told me you were going to be in your backyard doing open mat?
Yes. So it rained yesterday, so we didn't get to do anything outside. Okay. But we watched the Bellator fights and, all that. But we have an acre right here where we live. We have chickens and everything. Mm-hmm. And I told the guys we want to start doing like a Friday night open roll. We'll just set up mats in the backyard. They might get a little chicken poop on them or something, but they'll be all right.
That sounds fun. That's a fun thing to do on a Friday night, and then a cookout after.
Yeah, we barbecued, smoked some wings and barbecued. So
that sounds like a blast. Wow, what a way to have a Friday night party. Party at Kelly's house. That sounds fun. So, who's played a meaningful role in your life's journey and influenced you in a positive way? If you could say anybody.
So naming somebody just seems so unfair because there's been so many different stages of this in my life and the roads I've had to take to get here that I felt like I got lucky and met critical people the time I needed them. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some people haven't stayed in my life. It's people who keep friends from like middle school is amazing because I feel like people just grow apart or have, separate goals and ambitions, and you kind of just go your own way. But I stay in contact with a lot of them, especially some of the coaches I've had along the way. And, you know, I couldn't name one or just even a few, because the time that they have dedicated to me is more meaningful to me than getting my hand raised. Because, I mean, people get paid all the time for, you know, coming in and holding pads and stuff. A lot of the people I've had have actually been people who volunteered to come in and help me, or teammates or coaches who were just like, you're one of the hardest workers I've seen. You know, I'll come in here and help you with this. Nice. And the time people dedicate is like, you don't get that back. You know, you can never get time back. So I knew that they did it because they believed I could go somewhere with any of this. And I couldn't name any specific names.
Yeah, that's okay. Now, were you an athlete in middle school, and you were always an athlete? No.
No.
Oh, really? So how did the whole MMA thing start off? Like, how did you get involved in that?
So in high school, actually, I did an interview here recently and kind of let some of this out. In high school, actually, I was a little heavier girl. Like right now, we're like a size 2 to a 4. I was a size 13 in high school. Not healthy. That was like potato chips, marshmallow tea, you know, not based on the size. The size doesn't matter. It's the body that's in it. And it was a very unhealthy girl. And if you would have told me one day I was going to be a pro athlete, I would have thought you were on drugs. Absolutely would have thought you were on drugs. Yeah. I tried a couple sports. I tried volleyball, didn't work out. Tried track, didn't work out. I actually tried hurdles one time in track too, because nothing else I was really good at. And I knocked over every single one of them. Everyone.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
That definitely didn't work out. And the only thing I ended up getting into was because I actually, you know, kids can be really cruel, especially in high school. And I actually ended up going through an eating disorder in high school. Wow. So at one point I decided that, you know, a lot of people don't know diet and healthy and, you know, healthy lifestyle and stuff. So I just decided if I didn't eat, then I wouldn't get fat. So that's what I decided to do. And went through some pretty bad stuff with that. I actually was sitting in the kitchen one evening and, you know, I got where I was just drinking caffeine to stay alert pretty much. But I wasn't getting down any food. And I like pretty much went blind. Like I was still alert, but I couldn't see anything.
Wow.
So my body was shutting down.
Yeah.
So my mom came running up the hall because I started screaming, and she had to take me to like Cardinal Glennon, and we, you know, had to talk to a dietitian, and I learned a lot about nutrition that way. That was kind of the start of that. And I had an aunt that ran a lot of marathons. And when I got into a healthy state again, she kind of talked me into joining the cross country team and start running. Show up the first day and they tell me we're going to run 3 miles. And I'm like, wow. I'm not going to run 3 miles. You might run 3 miles. I made it like a half a mile and there was no way. And 2 years later, I ran my first marathon. Wow. So that was kind of it was never, you know, an athlete by means. It kind of got pushed in that direction to find a healthier way to feel. Yeah.
Yeah, and being supported by other women that were older than you. Now, when you were younger, I mean, now where you are now and you know yourself, and when you look back at that young girl, what do you think attributed to the heavyweight and then the anorexia? Like, was it other people being mean to you, or what was happening with your self-esteem then?
So the crazy thing is you know, I always had my parents were great. They were supportive. But I think every girl has that pressure. Every girl, like look at the front of a magazine. Yeah. You know, and the expectation that's put out there. And there's always those girls in high school that are super skinny and popular, and you know, so then there's the ones of us that are really frumpy and dorky and not quite got our stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And we put a higher expectation for ourselves. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, kids do pick on kids.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah,
And
girls are mean. Girls are mean too. Girls
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're you're in a state, you're trying to build a self-confidence, you have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
It's easy to believe what people are saying is who you are.
Right. And your body's changing so much too physically. I mean, you're developing breasts, you know, you're getting hips,
Yeah.
like everything's all over the place. And then hormones, you got pimples, you got like, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was actually on the call list at the hospital for a while too. You know, other girls that are going through stuff can call you and talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it all really just starts with self-confidence. Like most of them, that's what's embedded is they don't have the confidence. So they let other people, you know, put on them what they are instead of making up their own mind.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's such a rough time for girls too. And I mean, it sounds like, you know, you had the right people around you for sure to help you out of it. 'Cause some girls don't ever get out of it. Like they still, you know, fall into that whole cycle, however it is, and they still fall back into it, and they never find their way out or through it. You're not the only woman that, or fighter that has battled this. I've actually talked to a couple others too, and I'm like, wow, it's interesting that, you know, there's so many commonalities with you female fighters that I'm like, wow, like I wouldn't have expected some of these things to come up, and some similarities, you know, like just some similarities of you know, what their early adolescence was like and some of the struggles they might have had, and moving forward. Like, I mean, some of the fighters that I've interviewed, you know, their dads had passed away. Like there was like, actually there's several of them, and there's a few that have had the eating disorders, and then you know, it's just, we all get through life and we're like trying to figure it out, but we all have something. And then this is a way to kind of catapult you through some difficult challenges, but empower you in a weird, you know, in a weird sort of way that you wouldn't think for a female you would be doing, you know, fighting.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, I mean, I didn't get into it until later in my life, but it definitely empowered me. It made me a stronger person, you know, like as a woman and stuff, and able to get out in the world a little bit more. I mean, I always felt like empowered anyways, but way more confident after doing any sort of martial arts, which is really.
And that's the thing, it's not just in the gym, like everything from the gym that you get, the confidence, the empowerment, it's outside of the gym too. Like you're building in your life through this, not just in the gym. That's what is really amazing about this sport.
Yeah. How do you see it like kind of translating into you being a fighter too? You know, like you know, that you're in the cage battling something, you know, you're battling a person, but I mean, when you're a firefighter, you're battling a fire and you're trying to save lives or save somebody's home, or, I mean, where are the parallels there for you? What's similar in that kind of, and what's a complete contrast?
So to me, really, when I get in the cage, I'm in there with somebody else, but I think the real battle is myself, just like through fight camp and the struggles you go through with fight camp. And that person's going to be there in the cage. Like, they're going to do their own thing. There's nothing I can change, but how I think of things and how I do things. And, you know, that's my battle, is myself. Same thing with, you know, we get called out to a crazy call. On the way there, you have all kinds of thoughts that go through your head. And I mean, when I get there, the scenario is still going to be the same scenario, but the only factor I can change is how I feel and how I act, and, you know, whenever I get there and what I get out of myself. So I think that's really where they relate the most.
So do you, I mean, I mean, being a firefighter, you confront death a lot. I mean, what's the, how do you deal with that, I guess? Because you could go in and you might not walk out. It's different.
So,
That's different than going into a cage. You're pretty sure you're going to walk out. You maybe scraped up some bruises, but fighting a fire, you don't know.
and I just had this talk with somebody. I don't think the best way to say is you get numb to it, but you kind of accept the possibilities at some point. Mm-hmm. I'm 32 and my husband's 33. Mm-hmm. And we've been married for, I guess, like 5 years now. Mm-hmm. And every year, at the beginning of the year, we have to fill out paperwork at each of our departments that says, if I die, this is what I want. Mm-hmm. I don't really know many like 20-some-year-olds that get married, and you have to fill out that paperwork each year and like, so if I don't make it home this rotation, this is what I want you to do for me. Yeah. And I think just it's embedded. We all know every rotation something can happen, and it's there. So I think there gets to be an acceptance, and that's why fighting, like, people talk about being so scared to get in there, and I don't find it scary. It's more of a, the adult things kick in, like, well, shit, what if I get hurt and I can't go to work next week? that kind of stuff.
That's me. That's what I would think. Oh, if I get hurt and I can't work, or, oh, I get hurt and I can't train. That used to be my more thing. I can't train. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So those are more the concerns at this point. But I mean, I love both careers. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things, like, you got to tell yourself, like, if something does happen, was I living in the moment, doing everything I want, then I'm okay with doing it.
Yeah. You have to look at that perspective. Am I loving my life and what I do? And am I enjoying it? And yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. Yeah. I mean, it is for a 31 and 33-year-old person to look at and go in, it's like almost you're doing your will, once a month, like.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it feels like.
Yeah, you're doing a will. It's like, okay, I'm writing that out. Most people don't. I don't even have a will, and I'm like, I'm not going to say my age, but I'm up there. I'm up there. I should have a will, and I mean, like, I haven't even done it, and I'm like, so many people just don't think of their own mortality, and they just don't look at it at all. I mean, I looked at it when I was younger a lot, because I have deceased family members, so I was around death a lot. So I really get it. You get a thicker skin. You get a definitely a thicker skin. So it doesn't faze me as much. I mean, I feel for people. I have compassion for people, but I'm like, oh yeah, like, somebody might have cancer or somebody might have this or that, and they're going to die or whatever. I'm like, yep. They gotta, like, like, yeah, I don't know. Your skin gets, you just get a thicker skin towards it, and that it's inevitable for all of us. I mean, none of us are getting out of this life alive. We're all heading in that direction, one way or the other.
I mean, I've been at family funerals and felt like a jerk, because it's somebody I was close to and everybody's crying but me.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just not, that's not there. Like, it's, I've accepted it, I think, sooner than most, and it's just a different reaction.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I've found that crying or grieving is basically for the self. It's not for the person that died. I mean, it's missing them, but it's about your own relationship with that person, and it's for yourself. And I know for me, it's like, oh, if you miss somebody or the sense of loss or whatever, but I didn't cry much at my, family's, when they passed away. I mean, I cried in private a little bit, because I was going to miss them and their company and stuff, but I don't live with them every day, like, I didn't see them every day. We were having this discussion with a couple people I know lost pets, and I know you have a dog that's been with you for quite a while, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So one of my boot campers lost her pet, and he just died. And, she was like, every moment of the day. I'm sobbing because that pet was here. You know, like they'd be like lying around or, you know, twirling around my feet. They were with me every day. So she was like, I feel bad because if somebody else dies that's a family member, I didn't feel as bad, but I never put the two and two together saying, isn't that awful? But like put the two and two together of saying, well, they're with you every moment of the day, as opposed to like maybe a family member and you see them, you know, maybe once a week or something. They're not living in your space. So I was like, that was a little bit of an epiphany for me. And I was like, wow. So pet owners, no wonder they go bonkers when they lose a pet. They're like, you know, totally grief stricken and all that. I was like, that makes so much more sense to me now.
Oh, I was a disaster when I found out she had cancer. Like it was pathetic. I'm not going to lie. And I've not it like that for a family member. So I mean, it's completely true, but I even tell my husband, I give him hell all the time because she's been with me for almost 13 years. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm like, she has seniority on you. Like, she's been with me longer than you have. So technically the dog has seniority, but, I mean, she was my best friend. I moved up here and, you know, during medic school, I got her. So my ups and downs through medic school, fire academy, everything, like I came home and she was waiting for me to talk to her, you know? So yeah, we have 3 dogs. Mm-hmm. We have 3, but, she's definitely my baby and my best friend. She's just been here forever.
Wow. And yeah, that's a long time to have a dog. I mean, for sure. I love the photographs. I love how Invicta will photograph the fighters with their pets. So your pet travels with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So she travels with you. So that's pretty cool that you bring her to your fights. And
we felt bad not bringing the other ones, but
yeah,
that bloodhound, one's a bloodhound, and
I used to have a bloodhound.
She's so funny, but she would probably be howling in the hotel room. Yeah. And the other one is a rescue pit who she doesn't like men. So that could get a little complicated. Yeah. But an all-girl promotion, it might be okay. But yeah, she was abused really badly. So yeah, she doesn't like men, but I was like 3 of them's just too much. So the old girl gets to go.
Yeah, seniority. Oh, I think it's so funny. You have a bloodhound and leaving a bloodhound. And I mean, mine used to just, I mean, like if he barked, it was like shake the whole house, you know, like, and people would be like, what the heck is going on? You know,
when you walked him, did he do like the crazy howl thing? If you wanted squirrel or something, I know I'll like tell her, I'm like, her name's Ellie Mae, and I'm like, Ellie Mae, you weren't embarrassing us because like everybody's looking out their windows and doors, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just my dog want the squirrel. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he would howl at squirrels, and it's so funny. I'm like, and it echoed like throughout. What we have the Arnold Arboretum up here in Boston, and we'd let him go a little bit because he'd always come back, but man, I mean, like just, you know, like sniffing it and how, you know, like going nuts. And you're like, oh my God. And people are looking and like from all over. It's not like the same bark as like a regular dog yipping or barking. It's not the same at all. And yeah, it just a really funny dog. Funny dog. Yeah,
they're fun. They were a lot of fun. They're gross sometimes, but a lot of fun.
Gross. Wicked gross. Mine one time picked up roadkill and like it was like beef jerky. He flipped it up in the air, and then right down the throat and like didn't even chew the thing. And I'm like, oh my God, stop. I mean, like, I was like, what the hell? I was so grossed out. And I'm like, I don't want you near me. Like, cause then he'd like want to come over and slobber on you. And you're like, hell no. Oh my God.
She's will wipe her boogers on the walls. So when I clean, I like have to wipe the walls down because there's hound dog boogers on them. So
yeah, the schluck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So for our listeners, if you have a bloodhound, you know, just I don't know. Like, yeah. What's the other dog that you have that is in the photograph from Invicta?
Husky.
She's a husky.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's her name?
Dakota.
Dakota.
Yeah.
So Dakota, Ellie Mae, and what's the other one?
Abigail.
Abigail. Very cute. So all girls.
Yes. My husband is outnumbered. We don't have any roosters either. It's all female chickens. So
Oh my goodness.
he's completely outnumbered at our house.
Very cool. I'm sure he doesn't mind. He must like it.
No, he's content. He's all right with it.
That's cool. Wow. So can you share a story of a time in your life or in your journey where you've experienced failure and what you've learned from it?
Oh man. I mean, I've had a lot of failures. I mean, I think it's all in perspective. Some people would look at like a lost fight as a failure. I hear people say like, go back to, the starting block, and it's really not a failure, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I think failure is definitely on perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, any of them I've had that people maybe consider failures. I mean, it's just one of those things you either look at it with the right perspective and you move on,
Mm-hmm.
or you sit and you pout about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that sucks with time is it is not something that's going to wait for you.
Right.
And I sat around and I pouted a little bit after my first loss. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I had to really think about some stuff, and it was wasted time, thinking I was a failure and sat there. So, really, I think, like I said, it's just perspective on if you want to count it as a failure or we're going to take this and get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's it's an attitude you have to have. It's like for every success, like you have to fail to get to success. Like you have to kind of have those. Oh, didn't make it this time. Oh, try it again. Depending on what you're doing. I think in mixed martial arts, you can't have too many failures. In that. If you have a loss where you get like knocked out or, some sort of injury happens, I mean, it is a finite career path that you're on, but you got to make the most of those, losses, say, and then getting back in there and getting back into training and improving wherever you need to improve on. But it's cool. All cool. Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Well, it really, we don't have a very good sleep schedule, so I can't really say I sleep all night, any night.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I wouldn't say I could say anything keeps me up at night. Mm-hmm. There's things as a first responder you learn to cope with in a different way. But a good thing is I have my husband that works in the same career field, and we get to vent a lot to each other. So any bad things we come home with that, we have somebody to talk to. But keeping me up at night, other than that, is just self-criticism. Mm-hmm. If I have a bad day at training, I may, beat myself up. But
toss and turn. How can I do better? Dreams.
Yeah. I stay in my sleep sometimes, actually. So
I can remember I used to do that in my dreams too. I don't so much anymore. I'm a little bit more away from it. I don't train as much as I used to, but like I can remember having dreams where you're
like fighting
something, and you're like, wow, I'm actually good. That's what I would think. I'm like, I'm actually good. Once upon a time. Can you share a time in your martial arts journey where you experienced an aha moment of realization?
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to the losses. I kind of had to figure out, I think everybody has like a loss and they're like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. What? Especially you get out of there and you realize your whole camp was for a moment for somebody else to get their hand raised.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And I think my biggest aha moment was to figure out why I was doing this. And I had to tell myself, like, I wanna have to miss this. If I don't miss it by this certain amount of time, then I'm not going back to the gym, because maybe it's just time to move on. And I got myself thinking about moves and combinations and fights and, getting that itch again. And I realized that it's not getting in there and winning. I mean, that's the best feeling in the world, don't get me wrong. But at the end of my career, it's pretty much the journey. Like, am I going to be able to teach other people? Am I going to be able to inspire other people? And I think a lot of people try to get through camps and stuff like that. I also, out of that, you got to focus on things in camp. Like, life don't stop. So you still need to go see family. You still need to see friends. You still need to focus on another career if that's a goal. And if you focus on the moment, then it doesn't just seem like everything gets wound up and that something gets thrown away. Like, you need to focus on every moment. And I got my why back. And I realized that I need to go in and enjoy every training, not just like get through it.
Yeah. It's important to have a why, right? Like to keep you motivated. It's like, why am I doing this? I mean, finding that sometimes can be really tricky. I think there's like 7 questions, like you keep asking yourself, you ask your question, like 7 whys or something like that. It'll get you down to that, like that core why in your heart and soul of like why you're doing what you're doing. And you're like, oh, okay, I can live with that. and keep it going if I know that. Was it hard for you to find that in yourself, your why?
So, I'm not gonna act like my first loss was easy by any means. My husband gave me crap, and he said, like, the first rotation I had by myself home, he came home and it looked like a frat house. There's like pizza boxes, and I was just like depressed and done with everything for the moment. And a lot of when people are down, like, past struggles come back, and you have to evaluate a lot more than just that moment that you're having a problem. You start evaluating everything. And it definitely made me a stronger person. And it definitely actually gave me some confidence, especially for these last couple of fights, because I figured out a lot about myself. And not just my why, but when I can, when I break, and if I can build off of it, or weaknesses, strengths, and
it's do you think like your emotional journey, with this, like, if you had a loss, then you got to come back, and I mean, your last 2 fights were wins, and you fought tough opponents, but like coming back from the losses to make the wins, what would you say has led to, what has been the essential maybe 3 to 5 things that you might do that lead to the success that you're having now?
I mean, I had a lot of different changes in there, but definitely the structure and discipline. And along with that comes the confidence, because if I know that I'm putting in so much work that I break my butt, then I know that I'm doing enough. I need to gear it back a little bit, obviously. But I mean, I think the people that aren't disciplined in things are the ones that have more self-doubt, because they know, like, somebody else might not know that they haven't been disciplined or been doing the training they should be doing, but they know. You can't get away from that, no matter what you do. And when it comes to, being able to structure everything, it helps to have coaches and stuff, but I have a messed up schedule for a career. So knowing that I can put together structure like that and still have a full-time career and get in there and do this, really the main thing it comes down to is confidence. Like, all those little scenarios that I have to be disciplined and be structured and make sure that no matter what, like including in this camp, the injury and stuff, that I can go in there and be like, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
You know, I got through a lot of self-doubt coming into my pro career. I was definitely fighting a bigger weight class than I should have been in, because I started as a straw weight.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh.
So, yeah, my pro debut was against Emily Whitmire. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't.
She's currently in the UFC, and she actually was in the Ultimate Fighter house. So I know I was fighting a bigger weight class up, and that takes away a little confidence.
Right.
So once I went to Atomweight, that was a big thing too, is, you know, these girls may be a little skilled, but at least they don't have the size on me now, and I'm on a more level playing field.
Yeah. Yeah. I know weight makes a big difference, like weight class, doesn't it?
It does. Like, I've heard jujitsu people say, like, it doesn't matter in jujitsu, but you get a girl that's 20 pounds bigger than you in there, and they want to lay there, it's a lot harder.
Yeah, if they're laying on you or whatever. Even if they're kicks, it's like taking a 2x4. It's like, ooh, thuk.
Exactly.
I mean,
of course, their reach, like, I'm only 5'2", so everybody in the strawweight class, like, a lot of them were, well, Emily's like 5'6" or 5'7". Yeah. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, and for them, they're like, oh, good, I'm going to get a smaller chick to fight against. They're like psyched, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I could totally see that happening. I know I would be if that was the case. Whenever anybody came into the gym and they were smaller, I was like, oh, this is going to be it for me. And then if it's somebody bigger, I'm like, oh, no. You know?
I've never had somebody walk in, though, and be smaller than me.
I know, I can imagine. No,
I don't feel that ever.
Yeah, right? Right. So how do you see yourself as a role model for young girls or women coming up, maybe in the fight game? Okay.
So, you know, there's going to be a lot of gyms I think are a little more welcoming now. But for fight game or firefighting, it's, you know, just do it. You're going to get told you can't, and you're going to get told some places you don't belong. And the best thing is to just do it. And if you fail at it, just get back up and do it. Because, I mean, you're building a foundation right now for all women in mixed martial arts, or even for the fire service. And, you know, there's a lot more criticism with that sometimes, being one of the only girls on a scene or being one of the only girls in the gym. But that foundation is going to be there for the next girl to build on, and then for the next girl to build on, and the next girl to build on. So making sure that you lay that down correctly, and, you know, bring other girls up around you. There's some weird competition stuff in gyms sometimes with females. Oh, I don't understand it completely. Because like a girl walks in, I'm like, hey, you want to be friends? What do you do? What do you like? You kickboxer? Are you boxer? You do BJJ? You know, and there's just like this weird thing sometimes. I just found an article on it here a while back, because I was like, have I just noticed it? But apparently it's a pretty common deal. So just, you know, support each other and everything. Like, it's intimidating walking into some of these places. So if you're the only girl face, make sure you're the welcoming one. You know, make sure you.
I mean, I know when I started, there wasn't very many women in the gym, and there was probably a handful, you know. And now there's a lot of women in the gym.
Awesome.
And yeah, like sometimes in the class that can exceed, you know, the men in the class. There's been times.
Oh, wow, we've never did that.
I know, and I mean, there's so many like small groups that are having open mats just for women. There's classes, you know, that, you know, they're on the fight team now, you know, like there's more women on the fight team. It's not just one token female on the fight team. There's actually several. And it's amazing to me, because I know when I was more training. There just wasn't that. And I was more like, come on, you want to, you're the younger girl. You're the one that can get in there and do it, and I'll help out however I can or whatever. But it's amazing to me how much more it's grown, and it's just gonna excel. It's gonna be amazing in another 10 years when you have some of these young, like these really young girls coming that are like, rolling and doing other things, doing competing like now in like, all these BJJ tournaments, and they have the Muay Thai tournaments. There's more of those going on throughout the country. So it's like, they're going to get like that, then that, and then they're going to put it together, and it's going to be like crazy. You won't just get like the Olympic athlete coming in and saying, oh, we'll get more.
These girls have been doing this like since childhood.
Yeah. So it's like, ooh, how's this going to expand, which is really, really cool.
And let's all admit here, girl fights are way better to watch.
I think so. Like there's some, I mean, like, they used to say that, you're not going to see a knockout or whatever, but I mean, like, did you see that? I know. Did you see that head kick? Did you watch?
Yeah.
Valentina? I was like, holy. But she set the thing up. Like, if Muay Thai, she kept setting it up, body shot. Then, eye goes down to duck, and then whack right in the head. I'm like, oh, man. Everybody. I was
a little scared. Like, the way she postured and everything. Like, I was a little worried she wasn't going to come out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was out cold. I'm like, oh, my gosh. I mean, yeah, like, I mean, when she probably has no recollection of it, but like when she saw it, probably the video of it, she probably went, holy shit. Yeah. Like, damn. Yeah. Like, that was nasty. Nobody wants to get caught with that one. I'm like, yee. Very, very deadly kick. If you could fight anyone living or dead, who would it be?
So just because she is my favorite all-time fighter, and we are obviously not in the same weight class, so she'd kill me, but it'd be worth it. It'd be Holly Holm.
Nice.
I absolutely love Holly Holm. So, yeah. I mean, I get murdered.
Oh, just height alone, right? Height. And...
But no, I really like her, and I just like her character too. Like, she doesn't try too hard. She doesn't do any weird Instagram stuff to get attention. Like, she's just Holly Holm.
Yeah. So. Yeah, she's cool. Definitely. Well, that's cool. So, well, my next question will be, what female fighter do you love to hate, and why?
Love to hate. I mean, I think everybody loved to hate Ronda. Yeah. But the thing is, like, she paved a path for women in MMA. Mm-hmm. So the only time my love-hate came from her is when she was a sore loser.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that was the love-hate relationship one for me.
Yeah, it's being a better competitor then. That's cool. That's a great answer. It's so funny. Like, I don't think you're the only one that has said, stuff like that about Ronda or whatever. I mean, they appreciate everything that she did, but they just didn't like how she handled things in the end. Like, when she lost, she just had a hard time with dealing with that, I guess, apparently.
Well, her last couple of fights, she even got where she wouldn't touch gloves with the girls or anything like that. And it's just,
Yeah.
We're all in this together, really, at the end of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how that is. Could you share a story when you felt inadequate or were told no because you were a woman, and how did you handle that?
Well, I mean, even getting into the fire service, definitely small town. I got a lot of reactions of, you're a firefighter? Or I've been out with the guys from my crew before, and people come up and talk to us, and I introduce myself, and the reaction is, are you the secretary? So, and that's only a few examples. Yeah. It's one of those things. I could get super pissed when stuff like that happens and be a jerk. I kind of have a smart ass sense of humor about it sometimes, but it's one of those things, like, especially somebody who's never met a female firefighter, I'm their first impression. So even if they're kind of being a jerk or in the wrong or the way they're handling things, I'm still getting the chance to make an impression as the first female firefighter they meet. So I try to handle it classy. And, I went on trainings and stuff and get shit mainly for my size, but there's not a lot of girls on most of these trainings and, for the fire departments and stuff. So it's one of those things, just there's going to be doubt, but really I think I get something from that. Like, I kind of like it. Like, I like them to doubt me, because when you prove them wrong, it just feels so much better.
Yeah. Well, to see maybe like even the like, oh wow, on their face, like, oh, you're a firefighter. I didn't see that one coming, or whatever. You're a fighter too. Oh my God, guys must be like, what the hell?
I got some really good guys that I've went through like school with or worked with that are super supportive. And just, I earned their respect by working with them and everything. But there's those days that, it gets, I've had people call the firehouse and I answer and they're like, can I talk to a firefighter? And I'll introduce myself as Firefighter Kelly. This is Firefighter Kelly. Can I help you? Yeah. Can I talk to a firefighter? Well, this is Firefighter Kelly. Can I help you? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just, like I said, you're still setting an impression, even if it's a little frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. I applaud you. I think that's amazing, because I'm sure there were a lot of struggles along the way where you were like, getting there and getting through things and had, maybe not the, people looking at you that probably had their doubts, and you're like, I'm going to show you that you're not right on, the way you're thinking. And to be able to rise above that, that's huge.
There's departments too that still have the mentality women don't belong in the fire service. And, unfortunately I've had to experience some of that in my past, but it's one of those things, like, do I pout about it and let it get to me, or do I make a change? And, I also have the opportunity to be at the St. Louis County Fire Academy as an instructor. So now I can actually have that contact with the students coming through and maybe change a mentality in the fire service and be a support system for some of the girls that come through. And, they're the only female in the class, or, seeing another girl sometimes is a little comforting.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, oh my gosh, there's somebody who's like me.
You get me.
Yeah, you get me. You get my struggles here and some of my insecurities. One of the things, like years ago, when some of the women were fighting, like just maybe in a kickboxing tournament, it wasn't MMA, but they would go through the hard training in the ring with the other male, like, practitioners to practice for the fight coming up. And there were times where after, being in the ring after several rounds, like 10 rounds, 5-minute rounds, on a Monday night, and you come out of there afterwards and you're like toast. And she would cry. Like, I can remember this one woman, she would cry, and the guys were like, there's no crying in MMA, but for her, she was made to feel like, they were thinking it was because she lacked confidence or whatever, but it wasn't. It was just a release. It was like but we didn't even know that at the time, that's what was happening to, her as a female. I was like, no, it's freaking normal. That's just how she releases like stress and a little anxiety. And just, if she did have any doubts or whatever, she's just like, okay. And then afterwards she felt fine. But then she felt like, because they were looking at, well, she feels probably lacking some confidence there and whatever, the guys are thinking.
Little girl's crying. Yeah.
I'm like, she just hung with all you guys. Are you kidding me? And was ripping it up. I'm like, oh my God.
I would lie, or if I didn't say, I cry at least once every fight camp.
Yeah.
I do. Like, I have a breakdown. Like, it's a very pathetic breakdown. It's ugly cry. Good old ugly cry, just about every camp. And there's a couple coaches I had that I was their first female fighter they had. And they were just like, they didn't know what to do. Like, they went from like hard ass to like, I'd be like, you know, and they're like, I don't know what to do. But, you know, she's crying. I've never had any fighter cry. But, you know, and I've had a couple girls that I've trained with that I've witnessed it, you know. And you really just go sit down next to them and let it get them. They just got to get it out of their system. Like, that's really all it is.
Yeah.
So, it's funny you bring that up because we were just talking about that not too long ago. And it really is just like a girl thing, I think.
Yeah, it's just a release, and it's just how women release stress, I think, too, sometimes. And like, because we get more of an emotional buildup of whatever, and it's just like, okay, you let it go, it's a release. I was talking about this one of my early on podcasts with, I think, Mina Grusander said, she goes, I cry after almost like every training session. She's like, I cry. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I just remember, you know, like some of the women do it. They probably still do. I haven't heard anybody talk about it anymore, but I know in the early days it was like the guys were like, oh, you know, probably lacks a little bit of confidence. And I'm like, I don't know if it's all that. But
no.
Pretty confident we'll come in this gym, you know? Yeah.
We're going to cry, but we'll be back the next day for an ass beating again. So it's not confident.
Yeah, exactly. And her training partners are all men. It's like, that's a lot of confidence right there to be training with all men. And you're not like, I mean, the guys, when they're competing, they're training against guys.
Yeah.
You know, she's going up weight level, everything. And you know, so I was like, yeah, I think she's got a lot of confidence.
The thing is, sometimes I think the cry is frustration. Like, I'm the only MMA girl at my gym.
Yeah.
So sometimes my husband is the smallest partner I have, and he's 152. Yeah. So, you know, like, there's things we can't try, you know, when we're with big, strong guys, and there's things that aren't going to work, and there's things they can do that we can't do, and it gets frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, some of my cries have just been pure frustration of, like, you know, you get in there and you have a helpless moment, and you know you're not. So
yeah, you're trying to get it done, and you're trying to actually maybe even learn a technique, and you can't even learn it effectively because you need to go with somebody maybe your size, and to actually get the feel for like maybe a certain takedown or whatever. I can remember feeling like that a lot. Definitely. So yeah, it's across the board. So who do you see as maybe your next opponent?
You know, I really don't know. The Atomweight class, I feel like, isn't that big, but I've been surprised with some of the matches. And then there's been girls just kind of come out of nowhere that I didn't even know about. So, you know, it took 8 months to get another matchup with them. So I don't know. I'm not going to be picky. I know I want to still be making my way up the list. I don't, you know, take anybody ranked below Jillian because I know. Like,
I mean, the fight that was was the co-main at your event was Vivian Pereira versus Alicia.
Zappatella.
And I was actually surprised that Alicia lost, and I'm like, ooh, where does that put her? And to be, you know, I mean, like, what's next? And then there's Mina Grusander, there's you know, there's quite a few that I mean that are in line up there that, I mean,
Elise Anderson, Ashley Cummings. I mean, there's and I just I was a strawweight up until these two fights. So I don't really know where they stack me, you know. But I'm definitely feeling good at atomweight, so I'm hoping they give me some competition.
That'd be cool. I haven't seen what the release is for the next fight card. That will probably be in July or something. I haven't seen it yet, but Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because they usually have an atomweight fight, like a main. I think Jin is probably due to defend her title again at some point soon, I think, and it'll be interesting to see who they have for that, and then who's going to be potentially.
Yeah, especially, I mean, some of our top girls have already kind of fought each other, so at some point, so we'll see.
So what's your 3-year plan now, business and or what are the goals now?
Just MMA.
You could do anything, life.
Okay. Life. So just life on a personal note. Would like to get land in a mini farm and grow organic food and have more chickens and some more animals.
Wow.
So it's kind of a weird one. And we also have a bus that we're converting into a camper that we can take on like jiu-jitsu competition trips. Nice. And take our dogs. That's the only reason we're doing it, so we can take our dogs with us. Yeah. But so those are some pretty weird personal ones. MMA wise, I mean belt. That's Invicta is the only belt really right now for atomweights, and I didn't commit everything I have to this to not have that belt. So it's definitely the main goal, and from there, I mean, I'd love, everybody's talked about it, but I think atomweights have a little more to offer the UFC than they think. So I'd love for them to, give us an opportunity there. And firefighter wise, I plan on trying to be a training officer and, work on the rest of my degree. So.
Awesome. Well, you have a lot to look forward to, a lot ahead of you. And I'll look forward to seeing you fight again soon. Hopefully Invicta will have you again, fighting maybe before the end of the year. Hopefully that would be awesome. I'm sure that's something you would like. This is a great time for you to maybe remind fans where they could find you, or on social media, or any shout outs that you'd like to give to sponsors or or coaches or anything like that.
Okay. So Facebook is Kelly Ann D'Angelo. Instagram is Kelly A. D'Angelo, and Twitter is the same. My team, my coaches, St. Charles MMA, Mike Rogers. I have a lot of people I would want to name, but I'll keep it at that. And my sponsors, I'm just going to say go check out my social media pages. They're all listed on there. And they're all people that I actually believe in. I have a full-time career. So the sponsors I take on are people that I really, truly believe in what they do or who they are. And we're trying to be a team and build each other. So anybody that I put on there as a sponsor is somebody that I really believe in who they are. So go to their page, like them, support them, and that's it.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It was great to get to know you. And I'll look forward to seeing your fight, and hope your butt heals up really well. and we see you next
time. Hopefully it'll be a strong.
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
Hopefully it'll be even stronger butt than before.
That's for sure.
But I'm glad we could finally hit this setup. I know we kind of had it back and forth for a while, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to chat. It was really, really, really great to get to know you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to thank Kelly Wildfire D'Angelo for coming on to the show. She's something. She's a firefighter, going into, to help save people, from, a fire or save their lives. And then she, steps into the cage and she kicks ass. I'd like to congratulate her on her last fight. Kudos to her, and can't wait to see her fight for Invicta FC again, hopefully soon. If you like what you heard today and are eager to hear more, never miss an episode from the Evolve WMMA and Shelley Devine by remembering to subscribe and download download on iTunes, or you can listen while doing other things by finding us on Podomatic, Shout Engine, or Spotify at Evolve Women's MMA. Or if you prefer to watch, you can find a new episode on YouTube at Women's MMA. I know it's redundant, but that's how you got to find us, Women's MMA. Look us up. So if you enjoyed this episode too, please go ahead and leave a review because it helps people find the show. And on the review, mention Kelly and, list how she might have inspired or motivated you. You can leave that review at my blog at evolvewmma.com, or you can leave it on iTunes. And lastly, if nothing else, you can simply follow us at facebook.com/I love WMMA. This is Shelley Devine. Until next time, thanks for listening.